been thinking about this YouTube Atheist Community thing we've got going here. Because it's strange, isn't it, really? Because a lot of people on here who I regard as part of the community that I'm involved with, that community, are not atheists at all. And those of us who are atheists in so many different ways. The theism that we're if you know what I mean, that we're not, is all different, you know, so we're all very different. And yet we tend to call ourselves the YouTube Atheist Community. Sometimes it falls into debate community, those kind of things. But I was just thinking, in what sense does that make sense? I think there is a way in which it makes sense. And this is partly inspired, I have to say, by a video by Captain Andy from Shelton, who was comparing the YouTube Atheist Community with punk rock and the punk movement generally in the 1970s, early 80s, I guess, which was all about, you know, I guess it was a musical genre and a sort of fashion and all those kind of things. But it was also associated with a kind of DIY approach to culture, a taking back of culture from the kind of packaging and kind of corporate control of it, really. Kind of picking up on a lot of the sort of situationist stuff. At least people said it was informed by kind of situationism, which was a bit of an earlier attempt to do the same thing. And yeah, just a turning over of the traces of all of those assumed conditions, you know, which certainly in punk music was to do with a kind of revolt against kind of bloated supergroup kind of pomposity, you know. If you were a teenager in 1976, late 76, early 77, which I wasn't, but if you were, you know, the chances are that your older brother was listening to Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and your younger sister was listening to ABBA, and like what were you? What was there for you? You know what I mean? So at that time, punk, with its kind of just that kind of glorious celebration of three-chord wonder stuff was just fantastic, really. But anyway, in terms of DIY culture, and DIY was very built into that kind of fashion end of it as well. You know, the fashion was DIY, the music was DIY, the graphics were DIY. It was very much part of that. But what does that relate to this? Well, I think sometimes when we say atheist community, we don't really mean atheist community in that sense. I think we mean atheist in the sense of against a certain kind of almost mythological authority. I think there's something in the rebelliousness. I don't mean necessarily in just a teenage way, but that kind of antagonism toward unearned, anachronistic authority. You know, just like in 1977, you know, there was no Elvis, Beatles or the Rolling Stones, as the Clash memorably put it, because where had Elvis, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones got their authority from? I mean, of course, now we think the Beatles and the Stones are great, but you know, it felt unearned if you were a teenager. And I think the same thing is true of certain kinds of authority that perhaps atheism is a response to. Where does the authority of Scripture come from? And I know if you're a theist you'll have an answer to that, but if you're an atheist you won't. And here on the YouTube Atheist Community, one of the things that I think we ask is, where does the authority of media come from? You know, there's that kind of DIY approach to punk, which is countering the authority of a certain kind of set of cultural norms to do with, you know, who produces your culture. That kind of thing is similar here, where it's a questioning of the authority of where media comes from. And should media, particularly on somewhere like YouTube, just be Vivo, or just be Channel 4, or just be the major broadcasters, just porting their product out into a different platform? And is there something we can do which is kind of more interesting, you know, which is, you know, associated with something like punk or you know, something prior to that like folk, I guess, in some way. So to me, that's fucking like a fucking haircut, man. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, so the YouTube Atheist Community, that the theist, the theology, I think, where a lot of us here again, it isn't the theology of the spirit, it isn't about God. It's a theology of the media. It's the author God, as Rand Barthes puts it, of a kind of divine authoring media that we're atheistic toward, and there's a desire, I think, amongst many of us to take some of that back, really, and an atheist community is an a corporate media community or something.